Good morning on this Tuesday, February the 16th. And let it be known, we're going to talk reparations this morning. But we're also going to talk to Farissa Knox, a Chicago-based author, producer, and entrepreneur, and the founder and CEO of RLM Media. But first, we start with reparations. The National Newspaper Publishers Association yesterday had an exclusive interview with Sheila Jackson Lee, the Congresswoman from Texas, on H.R. 40, a reparations bill. The bill doesn't place a specific monetary value on reparations, but it does focus on investigating and presenting the actual facts and truth about the unprecedented centuries of inhuman enslavement of African people. It talks about racial healing and transformation. The bill would fund a commission to study and develop proposals for providing reparations to African Americans. The commission's mission includes identifying the role of federal and state governments in supporting the institution of slavery, forms of discrimination in public and private sectors against freed slaves and their descendants, and lingering adverse effects of slavery on living African Americans and society. The Congresswoman has made reparations her top priority in the 117th Congress. Also this morning, the federal health insurance marketplace, healthcare.gov, reopened on Monday for a special enrollment period that will run through mid-May as part of efforts by President Joe Biden to ensure that Americans in need of insurance during the coronavirus pandemic have access to health care. The president said healthcare is a right, not a privilege. And he said he will do everything in his power to ensure that all Americans have access to quality, affordable healthcare that they deserve. The president said in a statement that is especially critical in the midst of a deadly pandemic that has already taken the lives of more than 470,000 Americans, and it has infected more than 1 out of every 12 additional Americans, often with devastating consequences to their health. The special enrollment period, which extends to May 15th, allows Americans in need of health insurance to sign up for coverage through healthcare.gov. The president signed an executive order in late January allowing the Department of Health and Human Services to establish the special enrollment period for uninsured and underinsured Americans to seek coverage through the federal marketplace in light of the exceptional circumstances. It's a far cry from the previous administration and is a reaffirmation of President Barack Obama's signature law, which we know as Obamacare. And this morning, we're also giving a Black Press of America shout out to the great Michael Jordan, who is donating $10 million to open 2 new health clinics near his hometown of Wilmington, North Carolina. And these clinics are specifically to help people in need. The NBA legend is working with Novant Health, a nonprofit healthcare group with hospitals and medical centers throughout North Carolina. Novant says that Michael Jordan's donation will bring comprehensive primary care, including behavioral health and social support services, to the area's most vulnerable communities. The 2 clinics funded by Michael Jordan's donations are scheduled to open in early 2022, and both centers will offer much needed services to those who are uninsured or underinsured. Jordan previously donated $7 million to open 2 centers in 2017, and he says he's extremely proud to bring better access to critical medical services in his hometown. In a statement, Michael Jordan says everyone should have access to quality health care no matter where they live or whether or not they have insurance. Wilmington holds a special place in my heart, and it's truly gratifying to be able to give back to the community that supported me throughout my life. Remember, Michael Jordan starred at the University of North Carolina before his great pro career. Novant says that the 2 clinics that Michael Jordan had opened in 2017 have already seen more than 4,500 patients, in addition to providing critical COVID-19 responses. The locations have also administered close to 1,000 COVID-19 vaccine shots, and they have further plans to increase that supply. But again, going back to our top story, Sheila Jackson Lee, the Congresswoman from Texas, is on the verge of history. Tomorrow there will be a hearing on H.R. 40, which is legislation to study slave reparations. Several people are scheduled to testify, including Hillary Shelton, the director of the NAACP's Washington Bureau, also Dr. Shirley Weber, the Secretary of State of the state of California, and several others, including individuals from the United Nations, Human Rights Watch, and others. The announcement of the hearing comes after more than 300 organizations, businesses, faith leaders, and city leaders, including Human Rights Watch, the American Civil Liberties Union, the National African American Reparations Commission, NCOBRA, Color of Change, the Leadership Conference on Civil and Human Rights, and Amnesty International USA, sent Speaker Nancy Pelosi and House leadership a letter urging immediate congressional action on H.R. 40. Also, the president, we spoke with his top aide, Cedric Richmond, last week, and he says that the president is 100% behind H.R. 40. So we will see some action on H.R. 40. Sheila Jackson Lee is very confident that now is the time. As part of her interview yesterday with the Black press, she spoke fervently of how this is long overdue. If you recall, back in 1989, Representative John Conyers Jr. began this H.R. 40 mission to get it passed. And it's taken all these administrations later. But as the representative from Texas told us yesterday, you now have a favorable House, you have a favorable Senate, and certainly a favorable president. And one of the points that Sheila Jackson Lee did make to us, a very profound point, might be a simple point, but very profound. No one in official capacity, a president, has ever apologized for the transatlantic slave trade. So it's that bill, that legislation is moving in the right direction, and everyone involved. She has more than 166 co-sponsors, which is the most ever. She has a lot of even some bipartisan support now. So we should see more on H.R. 40 in the coming days, coming weeks, but certainly the current news right now is that tomorrow, on Wednesday, there will be a big hearing on H.R. 40, and Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee is encouraged that finally this legislation will get to a vote and it will actually pass. And as we stated, we have been told by Cedric Richmond that the White House totally supports it, meaning that the president will sign it once it gets to that point, and it will become law. So there's a lot to unpack there. We will be telling you more about this tomorrow, including showing some clips of the interview we did with Sheila Jackson Lee. And also on Sunday at 11 a.m., you can view more of that interview on the Chavis Chronicles on PBS and PBS World at 11 a.m. Sunday. We also, as noted, we talked about the support of the White House. Well, right now we can show you just a clip from that interview with Cedric Richmond when he talked about reparations.
The next question is about reparations. Where does the Biden-Harris administration stand on the enactment of H.R. 40? That's the bill to create a study commission on reparations. And if it doesn't get through the Senate, will the president issue an executive order to establish a national reparations commission?
Well, we have two things in that. One, we do support a commission in H.R. 40. Two, we know we can't wait. And maybe it's three things. And three, we have to start acting now. We don't need a study to tell us there's systemic racism out there. We don't need a study to tell us that redlining and Black communities have been treated a lot different. I think the president, and I traveled with him throughout the campaign, I know I've heard this speech a million times, that a home in a Black neighborhood built the same way, same material, is going to be worth almost 30% less than the same home in a white neighborhood. And those are the things we want to deal with. And so we don't need a study to tell us that we support a study. But the truth of the matter is we don't think the Black community should have to wait on the study. We need to start dealing with systemic racism in housing and education and all of those things right now.
Yeah, we don't need a study, but the study is part of this. And as Sheila Jackson Lee, the congresswoman from Texas, stated, that you have to study these things. She wants to get to the very root. One of the powerful things she mentioned was she compared in some forms to the outbreak of the coronavirus last year, in that we didn't know at first what was happening, where it came from. And now that it's taken so many lives, now that it has caused wreaked havoc really on the world, researchers are trying to figure out exactly how this virus began, where it started. And so Sheila Jackson Lee wants everyone to understand that this commission will endeavor to make that determination. She praised the powerful resiliency of Black Americans who continue to excel and to transcend the systemic racism and oppression of past and the present. And she says, I want to give credit to the giants that were and are Black Americans. They are giants, she declared. She says, I want to give credit to the everyday mom and dad who get up every day and get to work and provide for their family. I'm going to give those who came up on the farms or stayed on the farm and raised 9 and 10 and 12 children. She wants to give them honor, she says, the honor that they deserve. And that is to recognize the insurmountable odds that some of them had and how they continue to plant seeds of respect and dignity in their children. And again, she says, has anyone addressed the question of slavery and its comprehensive impact on Black Americans in this country? Well, that's what HR 40 will do. And at some point after the study is completed, they'll put their heads together, this commission, and they'll make recommendations on exactly what reparations will look like. So we will continue to follow that story. You can look for more of our exclusive interview with Sheila Jackson Lee on Black Press USA this morning. And again, we will talk more about this tomorrow on this very program. And Dr. Chavis, Dr. Ben Chavis, our president and CEO, who also is the host of the Chavis Chronicles on PBS, will have more of that on Sunday at 11 a.m. And joining us now is our president and CEO, Dr. Ben Chavis. Dr. Chavis, good morning.
Good morning. How are you, man? Thank you so much. And we had a full day yesterday and last night. And of course, thank you, Norman Rich, for continuing to let it be known to break the news this morning.
Yeah, and we're going to do more of this tomorrow. We're going to show some more clips of Representative Sheila Jackson Lee's interview, her exclusive interview with the Black Press. And as I let our audience know, they're going to be hearing more about it also on the Chavis Chronicles, which airs every Sunday at 11 a.m. on PBS and PBS World.
Thank you so much. Absolutely. And we really thank the Honorable Sheila Jackson Lee, distinguished Congresswoman from Houston, Texas, a member of the Judiciary Committee and other committees, who's taken the lead to get passage, to work through the legislative process of HR 40. And I think that this bill is going to be consequential, not only for this Congress, but for the rest of this century. It's been over 500 years since the Transatlantic slave trade. And I think that one of the problems, Stacey, we have in the United States, the reason why America still has a race problem is because we have not dealt with the massive, the in-depth misery and injuries that were done for 5 centuries. No other people in the world have experienced what people of African descent have experienced in the United States, in Central America, in the Caribbean, in South America, of course in Africa, in Europe and Asia, all the continents. African people were exploited. And keep in mind, even before 1619, or 100 years before slaves were brought to Virginia, they were engaged in the slave trade in Brazil and what's now known as Brazil. So we really need an accounting. We need an assessment I remember Brother Malcolm X used to say that stop trying to solve a problem. You're never going to get a solution to a problem if you don't understand the problem itself. And I think that's what this study commission, HR 40, will do for the first time in world history, where a government will devote resources and staff and time and intellect to search out the truth and the facts. And I'm so glad that the Black press, Stacey, we're going to be right there in it. We sort of dropped, I don't know if you covered it yet, that NEPA is going to publish a book on the transatlantic slave trade. And I guess the title of our book is going to be 1519.
There you go, 1519. And we've talked to experts, Dr. Chavez, and historians who totally agree with that. I spoke to, thanks to you, I spoke to Dr. Julius Garvey just the other day, and he said
the son of the Honorable Marcus Garvey.
Absolutely. And he said, this 1619, he says that's what they go by. They want us, but our history is always been distorted. So we'll have a whole lot more in that book, and we'll have a whole lot more on this topic tomorrow morning. So please join us then. Right now, though, we want to turn our attention to Farissa Knox, a Chicago-based author, producer, and entrepreneur, and founder and CEO of RLM Media, an integrated marketing and communications advertising agency. Good morning, Farissa Knox.
Good morning, gentlemen. Thanks for having me.
Good morning, Sister Knox. And I can't think of a better way to celebrate Black History than to salute you and to salute your work. You're one of those strong African American women who's done so well. And of course, we say the best way to celebrate Black History Month is to make some more history. And with your enterprises, Sister Knox, you are making Black history.
Thank you. Thank you for the acknowledgement.
Well, and Farissa, tell us about your business ventures and the success as a Black female entrepreneur.
Yeah. So as you mentioned, I have an advertising agency. We just celebrated 12 years in business at the end of 2020, which was a monumental feat. COVID or not, it was a huge feat that I'm really proud of. What we do for our clients is just fully integrated marketing and communication. So everything from research and understanding what consumers want to creating messaging to, align with that and putting it out in the marketplace so that ads are accurate and they are reaching people at the right time in the right place. One thing that I'm really proud of with my firm is we're here in Chicago, and it's one of the historic cities for Black-owned businesses. And Tom Burrell is a pioneer in the Black-owned agency space here in Chicago. And with his legacy and just being in his, orbit still here in Chicago, I hope to be able in my lifetime to take the Black-owned agency into the future, where when Mr. Burrell started, he was servicing Black consumers trying to get products to sell to Black people, right? Where today I hope to take that model and have an agency that does everything that a communications firm needs to do for all products and all clients that just so happens to be owned by a Black woman, right? So I'm shifting that into the future and having my staff just be a rainbow of folks really reflecting the marketplace and not just one little sliver of our country, because we deserve more of the pie. And then as I do that, I also created a small production company, and I've pumped out a couple of books, and we're moving into the television and film space. So I'm really excited. It's a great time.
Well, that's great. Well, we definitely not only are so pleased to have you on our program, Farissa, but we want to stay in touch with you. We may have some work for you to do for the Black press. I've worked with Tom Burrell personally over many, many years. And you're right, he's one of the leaders in the Black agency ad space. We need more Black-owned agencies. Carissa, I'm talking to Ambassador Susan Rice later today, who President put as the next overall the equity. The Biden-Harris, President Joe Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris have given her an assignment She's not only over the president's public policy council, but she's now also going to be in charge of making sure that the federal government agencies, there are many of them, advertise with Black-owned businesses and use Black ad agencies. So, fasten your seatbelt. Hopefully, a lot more work will be coming to you and other Black-owned agencies. They really actually need more. There's only a small number of Black-owned advertising agencies left now in the United States. So, and we want to make sure that all of our businesses get the kind of support, the kind of exposure that they need. We are $1 trillion spenders, African-American consumers. We spend over $1 trillion in the economy every 12 months, but yet we don't get the return on our investment in the economy. And that's what we have to do now. One of the reasons why we have persistent poverty in Black America is because we have not been able to cross that economic development threshold where we can start generating wealth for our families, for our communities, and for our institutions.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And when I speak to people about how to grow your business as a Black-owned business, the government is definitely the place that I suggest people to start because, in our system, we have carved out a certain percentage that has to go to either minority-owned or women-owned. And that's a great place. And it's interesting as I navigate now being 12 years into entrepreneurship that I think about the ways that we can stop fighting, or not even fighting, but competing over a sliver of the pie and really being able to compete on a broad level for,
Exactly.
more of the pie instead of just the little slice that we have to share. And I applaud the government for having things in place like that. And there's contracts that come out like from the Army and other organizations that they're looking on purpose to hire firms like mine. And I'm fighting hard in my little corner of the U.S. to try and expand that so that more of us can win. Absolutely.
That's great. And there's one thing, there's a segue, Sister Knox, that the global market, hooking those, we just talked about, the transatlantic slave trade and what's happening internationally. But also most of our businesses, we live in a global economy. Mm-hmm. So we would like to see your business there in Chicago grow not only across the United States, but you should strongly consider also working with advertising agencies in the Caribbean as well as in Africa, the diaspora. There's so much business opportunity, certainly in our local communities. But I just want to push the envelope a little bit in how we think globally, how we do business globally, and how we generate global wealth for our businesses.
Yeah, that is so important. And I'm glad you brought that up because I think what we forget as Black Americans is that we actually are the curators of American culture, right? So when there's other countries looking to get Americans to engage or, buy their product in other countries, we have our finger on the pulse of culture here because we created it, right? And then it spreads out into different pockets of the US. So we really are super qualified to be speaking with other countries and definitely need to dig into the power of the diaspora. And that's something that me and my household, my husband does business in Africa, we're really passionate about because the more we come together as a global unity, there's no stopping us.
Absolutely.
Yep. And I want to say good morning to our executive administrator, Claudette Perry, Lynn Spivey, Joni King, Annette Phillips, James Wright of the Washington Informer, and of course, David Youngblood. Always a good morning to David Youngblood and Tish Brazil, and all of those who are watching. Always welcome. Farissa, I know this. I always ask this question, especially of our Black women entrepreneurs. What were some of the primary challenges that you had as a Black woman?
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Well, being a woman in this society, no matter what color you are, is tough, right? We have responsibilities that really, no matter if we work or stay at home, we have to be, there for. I have 2 young kids. Navigating building a business and really, creating children along the way and really breaking that barrier of being seen as more than just a woman, more than just someone's wife, more than just honestly a pretty face sometimes, where you have to break all of those barriers and then add on top of that, you're a Black woman, and there's about 4 layers of muck that you have to get through before your voice is actually heard, understood, and taken as an equal in the room. Not every room is like that, and I will say that, but a lot of rooms are like that. And then once you get past that, you really have to decipher how do these folks feel about the fact that you had to, kind of come in swinging a little bit to break those barriers. So what I do though, what I've learned in that space is that they're barriers. They're not hindrances, right? They're not things that are really going to be able to stop me from achieving what it is that I set out to achieve, whether it's for myself, for my family, for my businesses. So the advice I give people is these barriers are real. So don't feel like, don't let people make you feel bad for feeling these things and understanding that they're there, but don't let them stop you. They're just smoke screens. So keep pushing through them, and, victory is on the other side.
Absolutely. And I just want to report to you, Farissa, that all of the leadership of the national board level of the African American Press, Black Press of America, through the National Newspaper Publishers Association, all of them are Black women. We have so many African American women publishers. In fact, there in Chicago, nearly 100% of our papers in the greater Chicago area, the publishers are Black women. Mm-hmm. And so we certainly want you and your company, Carl Williams Agency, it was another historic Black ad agency led by a dynamic Black woman, Carl H. Williams. We have a strategic alliance with them, and we're making room so that Black media agencies, Black advertising agencies can actually become members now of the National Newspaper Publishers Association. So we're going to be sending you one of our applications so you can join us to spread out the contact, the distribution of the content, and making sure that we can leverage all of the markets so we can maximize. There's so many opportunities out there, Sister Knox, for economic development for Black-owned businesses, and particularly Black-owned businesses that are led by Black women.
Yes. Well, I'm looking forward to staying in touch with you guys on that.
Absolutely. Karen Carter Richards, our chair, has given us, the staff, real instructions about empowering our community. We not only publish the truth, represent the truth, and advocate the truth, but we also stand for the growth and expansion of the economic development of the communities in which we serve.
Yeah, and Farissa, real quick, we didn't want to leave this out. We know that you're an expert when it comes to style and fashion. Are there any do's and don'ts that you would share with lots of meetings now being virtual?
I know. Well, it's all the things that we have to look out for that I think people know, but they forget, right? So all 3 of us were doing a good job with our backgrounds, right? Like having a nice, clean background. But from a look perspective, I think Black people have been doing this before Zoom. We just have to show up and look our best, right? And that doesn't mean extra. And we understand that we're still living through a pandemic. Even for me, the idea of how much glam am I going to bring to everything that I do virtually has to have an element of realisticness to it. And I think that that's what I strive for. And when people do that, it's that combination of I came prepared, like I literally showered for you guys this morning, but I'm still at home, right? So I'm not going to dress as if I'm leaving this space and doing something more than what I'm doing. I want to be comfortable at home because right after I'm done here, it's time to go make breakfast for my kids, right? So it's that balance of reality mixed with show up ready. That's my advice.
Wow. Well, Farissa Knox, the Chicago-based author, producer, entrepreneur, and founder and CEO of RLM Media. And also, What Are You Wearing Productions. So, Farissa, we really thank you. Dr. Chavis, closing remarks?
Yes, again, we salute Farissa Knox and her company, advertising agency, and other entrepreneur endeavors as we lift up Black women entrepreneurs across the United States. On behalf of the National Newspaper Publishers Association, our chair, Karen Carter Richards, and the 230 African-American owned publishers, many of whom are Black women, we thank you, we salute you, And we say to all of our listeners, again, the best way to celebrate Black History Month is to make some more history.
And let it be known, our Black History Remembrance today is Miss Edna Griffin. Edna Griffin's pursuit of justice and equality earned her the nickname the Rosa Parks of Iowa. But Edna Griffin's legacy is uniquely hers, and she deserves to be remembered in her own right, too. In 1948, in the middle of summer, Griffin attempted to order an ice cream soda at the Katz Drug Store in Des Moines, Iowa. But she was told that the shop was not equipped to serve colored people. She then channeled her efforts into sit-ins, pickets, and boycotts of the store. She sued the store owner and won, leading to the state of Iowa versus Katz, a case which ruled it illegal to deny people service on the basis of race. Decades later, the Flynn building in which the Katz drugstore was located was renamed the Edna Griffin Building. Let it be known, the way to right wrongs is to turn the light of truth upon them. We will see you tomorrow.